and they didn't alert our army and navy in Hawaii. Did not alert them, and then look how many people died because of that. Who created the United Nations? Communists in the Roosevelt administration, who were Stalin spies. The worst one, well, there were several. The worst one was Alger Hiss. He not only was the head of our delegation in San Francisco that created the UN, he's Harry Truman shaking his hand. Harry Truman shaking the hand of Alger Hiss. Here's a picture of Alger Hiss in jail. And our President Truman, who screwed Korea, that's another story, shaking the hand of a spy. All right, so the book, The Fourth Floor. Well, I have here 5 chapters on Cuba. I detail how the Council of Foreign Relations always intervened in our affairs, beginning with Elijah Root, which I think it was mentioned by Wayne. Elijah Root was the one that gave us the Platt Amendment. Since then, they're intervening in our affairs. Of course, if you know Cuban history, you know that we had the war won against Spain, and they intervened, and then we had an occupation by the United States from 1898 to 1902, May 20th, we put our flag. 4 years later, they came back 3 more years, they ran our country again. Throughout the years, the United States have intervened in the affairs of Cuba, and they're still intervening. And then, of course, Herbert Matthews, more than likely a Soviet spy, who was the one that said that Fidel Castro is George Washington and Simon Bolivar. Nobody knew who Fidel Castro was until they ran a series of articles that make him a worldwide hero. But we had a U.S. ambassador who wrote the book, the fourth book, Earl T. Smith, who kept sending messages to Washington. Fidel Castro is a communist, Raul Castro is a communist, the whole 26-year-old movement is infiltrated by communists, and none of those messages by a U.S. ambassador in Havana ever reached Eisenhower. He was stopped on the 4th floor. By whom? A guy by the name of Montenegro, who changed his name to William Wyland, who was in charge of the Cuban desk, and his boss, Roy Robotham, who was the Assistant Secretary of Inter-American Affairs, both of them pro-communist, and they did everything possible for Castro to win. Batista had purchased weapons in the United States, and in March of 1958, they got the weapons, just like they did the same thing with Chiang Kai-shek. The traitor, George Marshall, was Secretary of State and later Defense. He went to interview Chiang Kai-shek, who fought bravely against the Japanese, and we stopped selling him weapons. While Stalin gave all the captured Japanese weapons and the Russian weapons, that 90% of them we gave to Russia in World War I, gave it to Mao Zedong so he could win. So they did the same with Carter, with Somoza. He had purchased weapons from Israel, and Carter called Israel and said, get that ship. They already have, Somoza already paid for the weapons. They said, no, you cannot deliver those weapons. We want the Sandinistas to win. So they do it all the time. It hasn't changed. The more, it looks the same, right? I talk about the Bay of Pigs invasion and why we lost. It's in detail here, because it affected me. Because I lost a cousin that was shot down by a B-26. My brother and I, first cousin, and 5 or 6 other cousins were in jail, tortured for badly with 2 years. Here's the Houston, where I was on board. When it sank, I had to swim in shark-infested water, and that day, 26 of my people died in my battalion, 26, in the morning. The 5th Battalion lost the most people in the Bay of Pigs. Here's dearly beloved John D. Rockefeller, who is burning in hell with Fidel Castro. Good friends. Peggy Rockefeller, the daughter, a communist. The other daughters in the Council of Foreign Relations helping Cuba stay in power. All right, so I mentioned something here that very few people are aware of, and that is the role of Cuba, the unknown role of Cuba in the Vietnam War, the unknown role. We have heard that Fernando Vecino Alegret and 2 other Cubans went to Hanoi to torture American pilots. What you haven't heard is that 19 pilots were taken from Hanoi to Villa Marista in Havana to be continued to be tortured, and they were so deformed, their face was so destroyed that they had to assassinate them because they could not release them. And the United States has covered this up all of these years, has covered that up. The Department of Defense, Republicans, Democratic President, have never told the truth, but I'm telling the truth here, because one of those people that were imprisoned in Hanoi wrote about it. And when all the pilots got out, finally when the Vietnam War ended and they released our pilots, except for the people they have killed, what did they do? They told them, don't talk anything about the missing pilots. We're going to try to get them back. No, they were already dead. but they were on a gag order not to mention it. But one of them did speak, and I quoted him here. Something totally unknown is the fact that there was a Cuban brigade on the Ho Chi Minh Trail called the Rearm Brigade, and they were killing Americans on the Ho Chi Minh Trail. They were Cuban from Cuba, manning MiG planes fighting our people. Where is that in the United States? Cuba was at war together with North Vietnam. Where is that in the news here? Why are we hiding this information? Why are we hiding the sonic attacks? Okay, the sonic attacks, which I have 2 chapters here on the sonic attacks. All right? Summer and fall of 2016. And a lot of those diplomats were CIA agents that we had in Havana, okay? And they attacked them with sonic, ultrasonic weapons, microwave, whatever they attacked them with. They damaged their brain, they can't hear anymore, they damaged their blood, and guess when they're throwing those cannons or whatever they use, bazooka, sonic bazooka attacks, in a house given by the Cuban government to our diplomats, he's eating breakfast, there's a wife and the 2 kids. Why are we hiding that there's maybe a 5-year-old kid that has brain damage? You know the impact of that? That would force Trump to do something pretty drastic with Cuba. Here's this 5-year-old kid, this woman doesn't work for the government, she's there because the wife is a CIA or a diplomat. She got injured too. And then look, this happened summer and fall of 2016. Obviously Obama is going to hide it. But Trump took power January 20th, 1917. On May of 1917, without the knowledge of Americans, we expelled 2 diplomats from the Cuban embassy in Washington. You know when we announced that? August 4th, 2017. And this was happening a year before. And then we said 6 diplomats have been injured. In fact, they took them here to Miami to be held here at the University of Miami Hospital. Then it was a little bit more. Now there are 24, at least 24. You know the impact that that would be? First of all, if we're able to say Fidel Castro killed President Kennedy, Fidel Castro, Raúl Castro now has damaged kids, women, and our diplomats. Fidel Castro has a Hamas office in Cuba, all the things that Cuba is doing. Occupation army in Venezuela. I have 3 chapters on Venezuela here about the globalists, how they're helping Maduro stay in power. So anyway, so that's an important part of the book because it's totally unknown. I have, of course, covered when Trump came here. Your picture is here next to me here. You guys, you're here with me in a picture. And Chiqui Lamar, your cousin. Here you are. That's you. With this brave guy, Antunes.